What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Who's Reality Cooking podcast. I'm Audrey Johns, and I'm here with Timmy Norman from Is It Cake Season 3. What's up, Timmy? How are you doing today?
I'm doing so great. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. I'm really excited about it.
Of course, yeah. I'm so happy to have you. And for those who might be listening or watching, we had scheduled this last week, and then there were some storms, right?
There were some storms in eastern Tennessee. We had a hailstorm and thundering and lightning, and minutes before we were going to record, my power went out. And I was like, this is probably not the time for this.
I'm so glad that it worked out for us to record this week. I've interviewed people from season 1, from season 2. I have interviewed even the gal who makes the cakes that you guys are stumped by.
Yeah,
So
it's so
it's
good.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. So it's
Uh-huh.
really exciting to watch the third season, which has been like one of the most popular Netflix series right now, which is just
hmm
so great. And just to kind of get your take on what was season 3 like, and maybe if you can kind of share what you saw, differently between the seasons. Can we just start? Can you
Yeah.
share with all of us, when did you start cooking? Just at home or professionally, and where did your love of baking come from?
So as a child, my mom was very welcoming to me in the kitchen, so I was never like not allowed to be there. So it's always fun to grow up in a home where my mom was like always cooking or baking, and she loved having the kids in there. So it was great to experience that. So it really allowed me to be around the kitchen and find a love there. And my mom and dad were Sunday school teachers, and every month they would do a birthday cake and a birthday party for like whoever had a birthday in their class. And so my mom was always making a cake, and she was always, doing something like that for those kids. And she would do my brother and I our birthday cakes. And so I've seen, just a love of baking through that. And then I had a huge passion for art. And so I really thought that I would do something more print media. And so I went to school for graphic design and did that for about 7 years. But in that process, I learned a lot about lots of other mediums, including sculpture, which I really loved. And when my son turned 2, I was like, okay, we had a first birthday. We didn't really go too big with it, but I would love to see one of those cakes for him that you see on TV. And so I just watched a ton of like YouTube videos and things like that. I was like, I'm gonna give this a try and see if I can make him a cake. And I made this little sculpted train cake. It was like my first cake ever. Friends and family just kind of thought it was great, and so they started asking if I would do a cake for them. And I was like, wow, this is like really fun. I'm able to make something that's sculptural and artistic. And at the time, I was doing medical forms design as my graphic design job. So I was black and white text all day. It was not creative outlet at all. And so I was like, this is way more fun than my job. And so I was like, I think I'm going to give this a go. So I did that for about 3 years out of my home, and eventually was like, I'm going to, get a brick and mortar and do this full time. And so 12 years ago, threw my hat in the bucket and went for it.
12 years. That is so amazing. Anyone watching, you can see you've got merch. Your
Yeah,
brick and mortar is so popular. You're wearing your merch, which is
absolutely.
amazing.
Thank you.
And I definitely want to talk about what you're doing now, and I want to plug all of that, but I have to almost like rein myself in and be like, let's get to know Timmy
Yeah.
first. And your time on the show. What was it like getting on the show? Like, was there a casting call? Did they reach out to you? Did you apply online? How did that work?
Yeah, they reached out to me for season 1, and so I did an interview and stuff for that, but I didn't feel like that block of time was something that I could do at the time because it was quite a bit longer for season 1 than it was for us. And so I kind of, dropped out of that running for that one. And so I didn't apply for season 2, and then season 3 came and a producer reached out, and I was like, I want to go for this. A friend of mine, we've competed together, Elizabeth. I know you've had her on your show. She and I have
Yeah.
competed together a couple of times, and so I've seen her on the show and seen how well she did, and I thought I could probably do okay in this show, and I'm going to go for it. And so I applied, and so lucky to have gotten on.
We are all so lucky that you got on. And kind of a little bit of a spoiler, everyone, he makes it all the way to the finale, which is so you absolutely could and did. And I love that you knew Elizabeth. She was
Hmm.
such a fun interview. Anyone listening, be sure to check out Elizabeth's. She was the winner, right, of
She
season
was.
two.
She was a
Yeah.
winner.
My next question actually totally works in with that. I have found that, and Elizabeth definitely knew some people, but like
Hmm.
the community is so small, and in cooking, but even more so in baking and in
Yeah.
sculpture baking. So I wanted to find out, did you know anyone when you got there? Were you like, hey, or did you at least know of them? And what was that like?
I did know of Kristen and Grace and Julie. Like Kristen and I both had competed on the Big Bake, and so when I was watching episodes of that, I came across her social media, and so I did follow her at the time. Grace and I both were virtual judges on Buddy versus Duff season 3, so I've seen her on that, but we had never like officially met. And I'd just seen Julie's work because she's just so talented and does the hyper realistic cake, so I'd seen her work before, and Jajar had followed me on Instagram, and I checked out his work prior to getting there, but I didn't know him personally.
I think I love what a small community it is. And it's almost like, so if you don't know, I did a show 10 years ago, cooking, not baking.
Yeah,
And there's something so exciting about being in a room with all these other people who are as big of a nerd about food or about baking as you are, because like we tend
right.
to drive our partners crazy, like, can you stop talking about cooking or can you stop talking about baking? But just to
Yeah,
be in that same room as all these other people who love to do what you do,
yeah.
it's such a gift.
I think that's a really great thing about Is It Cake in particular. Is It Cake is my ninth TV show, so I'm pretty seasoned on TV competition shows, but it's so different in that we're actually given more time than you're typically given on a TV show. Like we're given 8 hours to do one cake, whereas other shows are 3 to 5 hours to do something that's gigantic. So I think that the way it's scaled down a little, even though like you're trying to do something super realistic, those things take time, and we're all easygoing and good at talking to each other and stuff. This show really lends itself to allow us as competitors to really talk to each other. And if someone has a question, we're always happy to like, here's how I would do it, or I've done something similar before. And so that really creates such a huge bond in all of us. It was so unlike any show I've ever been on, in just in regards to like the friendships that we made there. We're all super close. We talk every day still since last August. It's really great just how Is It Cake itself like really just brings you together and shows off tons of talent. And so it's just so great to be a part of.
It's such a fun show. And for anyone who maybe hasn't checked it out, I assume because you're listening, you have. But if you haven't, it's so positive and
It
fun
is.
and lighthearted. And there's not really the drama that you get from The Top Chef or, Master Chef or any of that. I love that about the show. Now, you had mentioned that you've done 9 shows, 9?
Yeah.
Do you remember all 9? Could
I
you
do
rattle them off
remember
for
all nine.
us?
My first show was Winner Cake All. It only had one season. The host was Giada De Laurentiis, so it was great to meet her. I did Halloween Wars and Holiday Wars. Food Network Challenge when they did the reboot. I did that with Elizabeth. Let's see, Big Time Bake. I did that one twice. Or the Big Bake twice. I did Big Time Bake once. And then I was the virtual judge on Buddy versus Duff. It's 8 shows on Food Network, and then Is It Cake on Netflix.
Wow, what an
Yeah.
amazing, amazing resume. Anything in the works that you're allowed to talk about?
Now right now, the contract is, pretty limiting to what we can do, so we just got to wait it out just a little bit. But I love it. Like, yes, I'm so competitive, and I just really like to show what I've learned over the years, and so it's a lot of fun for me. So if anyone calls, I always answer yes. So.
I love it. And then you had mentioned that in season 1 that the time that they would, have you out for the show was significantly longer than, time for season 3. So how long was it in Los Angeles, and how long were you there for?
It was Los Angeles. I think I was there for around 27 days. You're not filming like the first part of it because they do like kind of get you there and get you settled for a little bit, but then you just start rolling and it gets crazy. It was a long time, but I really just had a blast.
I'm so glad to hear that. So my next question is, in the very first episode, you got to choose what you wanted to make. Did you know that that might happen? Did you kind of have, something you practiced on or had in mind that you wanted to do, or are you not allowed to talk about that?
Well, I did not know what I would be making. They did ask us some, like, think of things that are personal to you that you would love to make hyper realistic. And so the rollerblade that I did on episode one was definitely one that I had thought of. I had made a rollerblade prior to going for my son's birthday because it was all about, things that him and I enjoy doing together. So I had done a rollerblade before, but not quite hyper realistic. So I just kind of felt like it was hard enough that it would make me stand out. Something I'd done before and felt like comfortable in it.
No, I think that's so smart to do something you feel comfortable doing. I mean, I love
Hmm.
when people, push themselves out of the box, but at the same time, it's nice to know that you can go on TV and show up in a way that you'll be really proud of. Do you remember what the flavors were in that rollerblade cake?
I do. I went with a chocolate cake with a salted caramel soak, and then I did an edible brownie batter filling and candied walnuts. It was like eating a walnut brownie with caramel. It was just so good. I actually sell it in cupcake form in the bakery, and it's by far everyone's favorite. So it's definitely just a very decadent cupcake.
Oh, sounds absolutely amazing. I'm like making note for my next birthday.
Yes.
And then one cake that really stood out to me was the rack of lamb. I mean, it was beautiful. It was so realistic. It was so impressive. But what was it like? So you made it, and then you went
Hmm.
home and they edited it, and then and they did all the work on the back end, and then the promos come out and it's the rack of lamb is on the promos. Like, what was that like to see your cake as, the cake they were showing off that season?
Right. That was insane. Like I said before, all of us talk every day, and so we're waiting, like, when is the show gonna come out? Like, we didn't know, and like, what's gonna be the promo photo? Like, we were all saying, "Oh, I wonder what it will be." And the second that it was the rack of lamb, we were all like, "Oh my God, it's the lamb!" Like, and that cake was so fun to me, and I really wish that people, the viewers, could see these things in person because TV does a good job at showing the detail, but in person, they're really insane. And I remember when I was doing the rack of lamb, we weren't allowed to do anything to the decoys, like we weren't allowed to paint decoys at all. And I stepped away and got some food color and came back to paint some on my rack of lamb. And I started painting it. And the producer was like, "Hey, you're not allowed to do anything to the decoys." And so I had truly fooled myself painting the real rack of land. So it was just so cool to see how well it had turned out. And then when it made it on the promo, I was just so happy. It's great to see something like that will always be there.
I love it. You tricked yourself.
Yeah, that was cool. I
It
did
was
that
that
twice. I
good.
did that with the rack of lamb and the log. I started painting the decoy thinking I was painting my cake. It was so fun.
Oh, that is so cool. So, how long into working on a cake did you get the decoys?
I think around 2 hours in. They don't have a clock up there, so it's sometimes hard to know like exactly where you're at. But I think it was around 2 hours we would get our decoys, and so that really allows for enough time for your cakes to go in the oven and cool, and you can make your icings, and so you're kind of, ready to go. Sometimes we're like, "Oh, can we have them, please?" We're like ready to start sculpting, so you just kind of wait till Aki brings it out. So, I think it was 2 hours.
That's really interesting. So they really you need those decoys. So you've got something
You
to look
do.
at to compare.
Especially when you're doing something like the roller blade, because I needed exact dimensions so I could even start cutting anything or making wheels or anything like that. So that one in particular, I was like, can I please just have my decoy? It's like so stressful, but it's part of the game.
The next question I wanted to ask you, and I kind of wanted to talk about mostly because I'm going to have Caitlin on the show as well.
Yeah.
You chose her to help you in, was that the season finale?
It was the finale.
It
Hmm.
was the finale. So why did you choose Caitlin? Not because she didn't deserve it, but I'm just curious as
Right.
to why you thought she would be the best one to
Sure.
work with.
Right. So Caitlin, she's incredible. And I felt like she and I competed together the first episode, and she struggled to finish her cake. But it was fantastic. Like she did a great job. She just struggled with the time management. It's so fast. And then she got to go to the head-to-head challenge, and she made a crazy good, like she did the vampire head. And so I was like, wow, like the growth in the first and second episode is insane. And then she and I competed together in the third time I competed, and she had to do the iguana, and she was like, I've never done anything like an iguana before. And just to see how proud she was of what she had done and to see that she could see growth in just being there, I thought, wow, this is someone that's like really in it. They have a lot of fire in them. And I truly thought that her iguana could have put her in the finale. But, fortunately for me, it didn't, and I got to go. So I felt like at any moment she could have stood where I was. And so I thought, well, since I have the pick and I can see growth in her, and I know that she could very well be in my shoes, that's somebody I could work with. And so I think I couldn't have made a wrong choice. Everyone's so talented, but I just felt like she had an opportunity that I had taken a little bit, and so I felt like I owed it to her to give her that spotlight.
I love that. Yeah, she is so talented, and that iguana was so beautiful. And
Yeah,
I believe her first one was a dartboard. Is that
yeah,
right? That
hmm
was so cool. That would have thrown me
so
off
good.
because I don't play darts, so I would have
Yeah,
totally been thrown off. Yeah, I love the friendships. I love that you wanted to, bring her in because, you felt like it was right. And I will definitely be asking her the same question, but on the other side of
yeah, for
it.
sure.
And and I've forgotten to ask about the rack of lamb. I'm sorry, I know I'm
Yeah,
backing back up. What were the flavors on that? Because that's got to be like a mind trip to cut into and eat a cake that looks like it's going to be savory, but it's
yeah,
not. What flavors
for sure.
did you choose on that one?
So I have this really great banana cake flavor. I want to pause and put my dogs
Yeah,
up because they're
yeah,
getting
yeah,
rowdy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a 7-month-old German Shepherd, and so he loves to play with my other dog, and so he was going to get rowdy really quick.
Oh, for anyone, we took a quick pause because Timmy's dog was being a little rascal. But you
Yes,
were talking to me about the banana cake that you had made
yes.
in the shape of a rack of lamb. Tell us
Hmm.
more about those flavors and
Yeah.
why you chose those.
Okay. So the rack of lamb was a banana cake. I have this banana cake recipe that's when people think banana cake, they think a lot of banana bread, but it's very much a cake. It's very fluffy, it's very airy, and it's unlike most banana cakes you have. And a local barbecue restaurant has a banana pudding that I just love. And what's so unique about their banana pudding is they put macadamia nuts in it, which I've never seen before. And so that allows me to do something like a crunch layer in a banana cake. So I did banana cake with salted caramel buttercream, and then a pretzel, vanilla wafer, and macadamia nut crunch. And so it's so reminiscent of like a sweet and salty banana cake. And then it has those macadamia nuts, which just makes me think about that banana pudding. And being that it was a food challenge to do something that was like a rack of lamb, I thought it just played into that. Like it just was nostalgic for me to think about that barbecue restaurant doing, racks of ribs and that banana pudding that they have. So it's just playing into things that I loved and made me think of home. And I just think that kind of helps you do well in competitions like that.
I love that. Do you want to give a shout out to the barbecue restaurant?
Sure, it's Calhoun's. So I think they have quite a few restaurants. But I just go try their banana pudding. Like it's worth going for.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Yeah, definitely when I get a chance, I'm going to have it. Now, you had just mentioned the crunch layer. Now, as a savory cook myself, I want to know more about this. Is this something that is really helps you stand out, or is this something you always try to add into your cakes? I love different textures, so it kind of caught
Mhm.
my ear.
Yeah, so I always try to do a crunch layer if I'm doing, a competition show like this because I really want my flavor to stand out and I want something unique that you've not had before. And I want something that has a little bit of salt in it. So I'm really trying to balance things as well as add the textures in. I think every episode I did something that had a crunch layer. And so it's just kind of part of how I love to bake.
Now, your very last cake, you worked on a water pump and you had a really beautiful story behind that. Can you share with the listeners what that was and if maybe there was any part of the story that didn't make it into that episode?
Sure. So I did the water pump. My parents grew up. They met when they were, I think, around 8 years old. My dad moved the side of my mom. They ironically have the same birthday, same day, same year. It's like a very strange story. They had this water pump. I don't know if it was in my mom's house or my dad's house, but they pumped water out of a well daily out of this water pump. And now my parents have that as a fountain at their house. And so when they said to do something that would make our family proud, I couldn't not think about that water pump because it's like it's so nostalgic and it just makes me remember like where they came from to where they are now and like all the work that they put in for me. My parents moved from Kentucky to Tennessee just to help me at the bakery. And so to just like pay tribute to them in some way was very important to me. And like we talked about flavors and we talked about my love of baking coming from my mom that when she was, Sunday school teachers that they didn't show this in the show, but when they were Sunday school teachers and she always made cakes, she always made a funfetti cake. There was always chocolate chip cookies and there was always potato chips. And so I included all of those in my finale cake. It was a funfetti cake with a brown butter cookie dough filling, and then I did candied potato chips, which added that crunch layer that I love. And it was like eating my mom's like Sunday breakfast, Sunday birthday lunch all in one cake. So it was just so fun to like feel those flavors come out in something that was so iconic for our family.
I love that. And it sounds amazing. Are you doing anything like that in the bakery right now?
Yeah. Actually, all five flavors that I made are all in cupcake form, as well as we're getting ready to roll out shippable cake jars in those flavors. So the flavors just work so well, and I love them so much that I just really want to give the opportunity for, the locals or people passing through to try them, as well as if you're watching the show and you want to taste those, I want to be able to send those to those people.
I think that's so smart. And I definitely want to give you lots of time to tell us where to find it and all of that. But I do have
Sure.
one last question about the show specifically. I was just wanting to find out what did you feel like the response was from everyone? Did you have a really great response? Did it kind of slowly trickle in? What was that like? And how did it impact your career?
Yeah, it's so different. It's wild. Like I said before, this is my ninth show. I did eight for network shows. The locals kind of know that I was on TV, but you know, I feel like it's the older female generation that watches Food Network. It's not the kids. And so what is so unique about Netflix and Is It Cake is all the kids that watch the show. And that is really insane for me because up until, a month and a half ago when the show came out, primary visitors were like, older couples that watch Food Network. And so now it's these kids that are like, we seen you on Food Network and we just had to come in. And so that has really just really lightened up everything around the bakery. And it truly has been insane to see how many people have watched the show and enjoyed, what I did on the show. And it just really feels great to get that response from the community.
How does your son feel having you as, my dad was on this show that all my friends are watching. What has that been like for him? I'm assuming he's just so proud, but I'd love to hear from you what that's been like.
It's been really great. Like I was very fortunate in this show. They really allowed me an opportunity to talk about my son and to talk about our interests and things that we've done. A lot of shows don't give you a lot of time for that, but this one really did. And so like he got to see a lot of me, like how proud I am of him and how much I love doing this to like really, show him how like reaching for your dreams can really come true. And so to get that response from the show and him to see himself on there and see me do something for him was really great. He had a great response to it. You know, it just we're kind of fortunate that we're kind of in a smaller city. It's bigger than where I grew up, but it's not, not a huge metropolitan area. A lot of people will, stop us when we're out and, ask for pictures. And so it's cool to see him kind of light up when he sees that someone is like actually interested in what his dad does.
Just that warms my heart and makes me so happy for you and for him and for that bonding moment. It's so special. And I feel like as parents, so often we tell our kids, you can do anything you want to do, you can do it, but we
Right.
don't. And when I say we, I don't mean you and I, but I mean parents in general, we don't typically show them that. And for you to be able to show him that, I just got goosebumps just saying that. It's so powerful and so amazing because it is true. You can absolutely follow your dreams,
Absolutely.
and embrace everything that comes along with it. And do you have any words of wisdom to the kids or the parents or anyone out there who've been watching you both on Is It Cake and any of these other shows? Anything, any message you'd love to give to them?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it there, like, being the parental role and seeing someone achieve their dreams. Like when I opened a bakery and I started doing cakes, I said, in 10 years, I want to be on a TV show. And 9.5 years later, exactly, my first show aired. And so, like, to really, like, thrive for something and to really see it is something that you can really, like, to see an example of something and proof of something is very different than just hearing it. And so I'm very fortunate that I've been able to do that. And, like, my parents moving to Tennessee to help me do something and seeing that their work and that paid off and now has allowed me to show my son those things paying off. It's generational. One bakery can do is like, it's really cool to be a part of that. And so I would say anyone that has a dream like that, even if you're a parent who sees your kids' dreams, be that parent that will do anything for them. Like it'll really
I
go
love
somewhere for them. Yeah.
I love. I definitely want to give you a lot of time to talk about the bakery. Tell me all about it. What are your favorite flavors and what are you making in there right now? And definitely talk about the jars that you're going to be sending out because I'm going to have to order one or several.
Yeah, so we're located in Johnson City, Tennessee. It's Eastern Tennessee. A lot of people know where like Dollywood is, so, like where Dolly Parton's from. We're like an hour and 15 minutes from there. So we're not too far away from like a place that people love to go visit. A half a day trip, you can come to the bakery. So it's come on over. We'd love to see you. And we do everything. We have a storefront walk-in space where you can come in and you can buy, pastries and pre-made cakes and cupcakes and cookies and macarons and cake pops. So we do all of those things as well as special occasion cakes. Like I love doing sculpted cakes, and I'm so fortunate that I've built a bakery where I can do that daily. And so you can come in, you can see what I'm making. It's really kind of cool. And then, we also have an online store. We're just starting to do shipping. Like this show has shown me a need for people wanting my product somewhere other than locally. So rolling out those cake jars is going to be our first step in, offering things that can ship nationally. We're just a couple weeks away from that launch, and so it's going to be really great. Perfect timing for someone that's watching this. And we have a website, it's mykcakebuzzer.com. You can go to our online store there and shop our things, and that's where we will have the shippable cake jars. And so it'd be a great opportunity for someone to try the cakes from the show, and then we'll have other um, series of flavors that will come out. If you are not from the South or from the Appalachian area and you want to taste like things that we make here, so I'm going to do a series that is Appalachian inspired that I'll be shipping out as well.
I love that. And I love that you're coming out with the jars right before summer because my mind immediately goes to that's perfect for picnics. I mean,
Yeah,
you
it
don't even
is.
have to make that piece of your picnic or, because so often we're outside and especially if the kids love it, it's
Hmm.
such a great idea. So smart.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we will make sure to put in the show notes, links to where you guys can buy all of this. But, if you're driving in the car and listening, Timmy, can you give us, where can we find, what's your website? Where can we find you online? And, just kind of take that chance to, or take this moment to kind of plug yourself a little bit more and share with everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, our website, mycakebuds.com, will give you links to most things. And then we also have Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. All of those are Cake Buds JC. There is another Cake Buds Facebook that's like in Minnesota. So just make sure you're on the Cake Buds one. It's a photo of me. It's not hard to miss. Yeah, you can go there. We post daily. We do specials. We do all sorts of things. And we always try to keep our fans knowing what's coming up and what we're doing. We love to interact, so if you're on there, send us a message or a comment. We love to talk to you.
Thank you so much for making this time and for rescheduling with me after you lost
Absolutely.
power.
No
I
problem.
cannot wait to order some of your treats, and I have been dying to go to Dollywood my whole life. I am such a big Dolly Parton fan that my
Yeah.
cat is named after one of her characters in a movie.
Oh
I
my
kid you
gosh.
not.
You should
From
come. You should definitely come.
I've got to come. I haven't come yet, so I've got to go to Dollywood and come out and visit your shop because,
I would love
it's
that.
it's now making it to the top of my bucket list. Thank you so much for making this time. And anyone listening, be sure to check out the show notes. I'll make sure to have all the links, every single thing you can possibly want to find Timmy. And Timmy, if anything changes, please let me know. I'm always happy to update the show notes so everyone can find the most up-to-date information.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. And be sure to check out the next episode of Who's Reality Cooking. We've got some exciting interviews coming to you soon. Bye.